Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about migration. We'll be trying to focus on the types of migration and the causes behind it specifically. So, first up, let's understand what is migration. Migration is basically movement of a person from one place to another. So, a person moving from one place to another is called migration. Now, this particular person who is moving is known as a migrant. Okay, so a person moving from one place to another is called a migrant, and this particular process is called migration. Now, for understanding the concept of migration better, first up we need to also understand few words like one I already explained you, that is migrant, and the other one is enumerate. Enumerate is basically counting a person or counting an entity in a list of things. So it can be like counting one person in census, so enumerating a person in the census. Then let's start. There are some reasons for migration which we need to focus on. That is basically the causes for the migration. I have divided it into push factors and pull factors. So basically, what is push factor? Push factor is basically the bad ones, and pull factors are the good ones. So if I say bad and good, let's categorize it. If I say that poverty, poverty. Will we categorize it into good or bad? We'll be obviously categorizing it into bad. So, a place where poverty is there, people will not love to stay there, will not like to stay there. They will love to move to some other place where there is no poverty, right? A place where there is no basic infrastructure, where there is lack of basic infrastructure, a person will not love to stay in that particular area. Would rather love to stay in a place where the infrastructure is better, educational facilities are better, healthcare facilities are better, right? So, a place which are having all these bad factors will not attract people, rather will push out the people of that particular place. Now, if the person is moving out of a place, suppose place A, which is giving all the push factors, so if a person is moving out of a place and is going to a different place, suppose place B, and this place B must be having some attraction, right? There must be some attraction. That is why the people are moving out to this particular place. So, this attraction is the good factor, which we call as pull factor. That means this particular place B has pulled out this person from place A to place B. That means there are some good factors like better opportunities, okay, higher wages, then it can be better health facilities, so all other good things which are there, better infrastructure, better health, better education, all these things actually pulls out a person from a place where all these things are not present to a different place where all these things are present. So this is the major reason for migration. And apart from this, if you notice, I have written one more reason, that is marriage. Now this we need to know. Marriage, due to marriage, migration happens specifically in case of females. In India, except the state of Meghalaya, everywhere the females move out of their houses, of their parents' houses to their in-laws' houses, which causes the migration of the females. It can be from one area to another area. I'll be discussing about that in the next slide. So, this is the thing. Now, let's move on to the next page. Now, you must be thinking why I have not categorized marriage in pull or push, because for some of us it can be the push factor, and for some of us it can be the pull factor even. So, we will move on to the next particular page. So, types of migration. Types of migration can be categorized into either temporary and permanent. These two you can do, or you can do internal migration and international migration. So, in case of permanent migration, if a person has moved out of a place and have stayed in a different place for a longer period of time, then we call it as a permanent migration. Longer period of time means maybe for 10 years, 12 years. If a person has moved out of his place and have settled in a different place for 10 to 12 years, then we call it as a permanent migration. Temporary migration can be for a day. If I have gone out to a different place for a day, then it can be temporary migration. If I have gone out to a place for a week or for 10 days or for something like that, and I return back, that is known as temporary migration. That means for a shorter period of time, if I am migrating, that will be considered as a temporary migration. And if I am migrating for a longer period of time, then it will be considered as a permanent migration. Apart from this, we are having one more categorization, that is internal migration and international migration. Internal migration can be divided into interstate and intrastate. Basically, if you are moving out of one state to another, if you are moving out of one state to another, then it is considered as interstate migration. But if you are moving out within a state from one region to another, it will be considered as an intra-state migration. And we all know what is international migration, from one country to from A country to B country. If you are migrating, then it is known as international migration. Apart from this, we also need to learn two very important things, that is place of origin and place of destination. Okay, so place of origin and place of destination. Just understand it this way: if this person moves out of place A to place B, that means this particular place A is the place of origin for this particular person and has gone out to place B. So this particular place B becomes the place of destination. So a person moves from the place of origin to the place of destination. Now let's go to the next slide. Okay, now this slide will show you the streams of migration. There are four streams of migration: rural to rural, urban to urban, rural to urban, and urban to rural. So a person can migrate from rural to rural area or from urban to urban area, can also migrate from rural to urban and from urban to rural. In India, majorly your rural to urban migration happens. In India, majorly a rural to urban migration happens, and that too specifically in case of males, due to the better job opportunities. Better job opportunities. So this is the reason why rural to urban migration happens basically in India or any other developing country, because of better job opportunities. Apart from that, in rural to rural, your majorly female migration happens, majorly female because of marriage factor. Yes, males even migrate. If there is better facility in some other village, the person will move out from the place of origin to the place of destination, obviously. But for females, it is majorly due to marriage. Urban to urban, yes, that is again due to better job opportunities. And urban to rural basically happens when somebody gets retired and want to live in a place where the cost of living is low. So obviously, we all know that in the rural area, the cost of living is low. So in that case, people migrate from urban to rural area. Apart from that, if somebody wants to have, a clean environment, wants to live in near to the family members who are there in nearby village. So in that case, also people migrate from rural to urban area. If somebody doesn't like the congestion of the urban area, they even move out to the nearby rural area. So these are a few reasons why there are four streams of migration. Okay. Now, in case of census enumeration, which is very important. I have already discussed this word enumeration. In case of when the census is calculating the number of people in the country, they are doing it on the basis, on some basis. There are two particular bases, that is place of birth, where the person has taken birth, and the place of residence, where the person is staying. So on the basis of these two, the enumeration is done. If a person is enumerated in a place which is different from the place of birth, if a person is enumerated in a place which is different from his or her place of birth, then that particular person will be considered as lifetime migrant. And if a person is enumerated in a place which is different from his previous place of enumeration, then that person will be considered as migrant by place of last residence. Apart from this, there are some very vital information which you need to note, that in 1961 census, there was modification made in the calculation of the census regarding the population. Two things were included, that is place of birth was included at that time, and the duration of residence was also added. Now, in 1971 census, again some modification was made to include the place of last residence and the duration of stay along with the place of enumeration. Again in 1981 census, there was again some modification made to include even the reasons for migration. So we all know what are the reasons, the push and the pull factors, right? So that is what that was even taken into consideration. So this much for today.